This is part two of a three-part message to the Australian nation. In 1998, God gave me two messages to give to the Australian people. The first one was, tell them time is short. This was given to me on the 1st of April in 1998. God's reasons for this, he said, this was how to get people's attention so they would be mindful about eternal things. Also, he said it was a time to let go any bitterness and return to God. Forgive your enemies. Later in that year, when the second message came, the Lord's first words that day were, false religions are worthless. Then I was told to stand with a sign in the street as a silent witness to the nation for 3 days at St Paul's Terrace, 5 Ways. The sign read as below. This message was given on the 3rd of September in 1998. Truth is dead in the streets. This is the last warning, Australia. Turn to God or face his judgment. Both these messages have been documented in the nation. First in 2002 in the NRM website, nrministries.com.au or .org.au, and then later in 2007 by the book called Australia, Land of Destiny, published in the same year. The time has come to go public in further ways through YouTube, internet video communications in Moore Street Ministry. The purpose for this part of 3 section is to give my viewers and listeners more explanation about the warnings contained in the above statement. For instance, time is short means it is not long before Jesus Christ returns to this earth and to the end of this present age. Some call it the church age. Probably it is now less than only 1 decade, or maybe 2. A world government is now imminent, and that brings ultimately God's wrath on a rebellious world. The second point was, I want to explain the term truth is dead in the street and what that means. This needs to be qualified carefully in our 20th century lingos. I refer to an article written by a Mr. Ron Carlson from North America on the subject he headed, Why the Secular Left Despise Christianity. I've used quotes and extracts from this. The secular left are people who have a particular political, social and philosophical position on matters which pertain to our lives. This is my definition. I hope the following will now make more sense. To quote from the article, many people in society, both Christian and secular, fail to understand the true underlying cause for the secular left's antagonism for evangelical Christianity. To quote further, many assume it is because evangelical Christianity is opposed to abortion, or it's opposed to homosexual lifestyle, or it has a desire for an alternative theory of evolution to be taught in the classrooms. While these are related to the secular left's vitriol, none of them actually strikes the root of the matter. There is a far deeper and a far less recognised cause for the secular left's animosity for evangelical Christian values. The real issue is a debate over the nature of truth. So the question is, what is the nature of truth? To quote further from Ron Carlson, evangelical Christians believe that truth is objective and universal, which means there is an absolute truth which applies to all peoples in all cultures for all times. Evangelical Christians recognise that this objective and absolute truth is found ultimately in the one true God of the universe and his revelation given to us by Jesus Christ and the Bible. It has been the blueprint for the last 2,000 years of our civilization. It is the evangelical Christians' insistence on adhering to God's absolute truth, which is found in his word, the Bible, that stokes the secular left's ire, that is, their great displeasure. On the other hand, the secular left is guided by a far different understanding of truth. The secular left's beliefs are that truth is no more than a social construction of reality. What does this mean? To quote further from Ron Carlson, they, the secular left, say reality has no inherent structure or meaning and there is no objective truth that humanity can discover. Instead, the secular left has adopted a postmodern view of truth that declares individuals and societies impose their own meaning and truth on reality. For them, truth is relative. Truth is relative to individuals, social groups, cultures, and to religions. It is this postmodern view of truth that has created a wedge of animosity between the secular left and evangelical Christians, as there is not a belief in the Christian God or God's Word. The secular left has adopted a deconstructionist approach to history as far as our normal Western worlds go, which had at its core 2,000 years of various Christians, nations, ethics and history. The common claim brought by those who push the secular left's agenda is that Christianity has historically led to violence, repression and conquest. While they may list a long series of historical evidences as proof, they are either ignorant or poorly informed about other civilizations, and particularly Europe's history in the Middle Ages, including, for instance, the 1300-year reign of the Ottoman Empire, which as an Islamic state suppressed and subjugated all in its path, as well too the Romans for centuries and the Greeks under Alexander. So the secular left's bias as a result of these so-called evidences of Christian abuse, and some may be justified, have determined in their postmodern worldview that we must now highlight and give preference to the historically marginalised and mistreated. Jesus Christ does teach that we should do good to peoples everywhere. However, they do not stop there. At a renewed vigour of concern to help those historically marginalised and mistreated, they make an extraordinary leap in conclusion, which is that these past marginalised and suppressed peoples, cultures and religions are in fact equal to or even preferable to the traditional Christian worldview. My comments are, any fair-minded education person cannot, using any number of criteria for qualifying and quantifying such nations and society, make that conclusion. However, the secular left do. Therefore, we see the secular left embrace every non-Christian lifestyle, choice and religion as normative, including homosexual marriage, abortion on demand, and even Muslim terrorism.